quick video explaining different arm positions in the face pull and the biomechanics behind it. Super simple living room setup here, but I think it's still valuable information. So let's get started. Quick recap, anatomy wise it works like this. The further the resistance is away from the fulcrum, the turning point of a joint, the harder the muscle has to work. Give you an example, if I press like this, the weight in my hand will be very close to my shoulder and my shoulder has to work a bit less, but the weight in my hand is also slightly more away from my elbow, which is my tricep moving. So my tricep will work a bit more if I press like this, versus if I press with a vertical forearm. My tricep is working less intensely because the weight is more above the elbow. I need less tricep extension through the movement, but my shoulder is working more. The more extending outwards, even more my shoulder needs to work. The same thing applies for an external rotation. If I do external rotations with a weight in my hand and I keep the weight very close to my shoulder from here to there, camera by my wife, and I move around like this, I move from such a quite high position still to just a bit higher. And the outcome of this is I just lift by a very small distance, so I do less mechanical workload. So if I would do external rotations like this, I could move much more weight and it's much easier on my rotator cuff because the way that I'm lifting the weight with my rotator cuff is small. If I have the perpendicular forearm, 90-degree elbow angle, and the weight is here, it lowers all the way down to here, coming all the way up, making it much harder, which makes this bending or extending of the arm a common way to cheat the external rotation because we work gravity less much. Now, how does this apply to face pull? In a face pull, we usually pull, or we should pull above the shoulders because the actual external rotation that's happening is not happening really in the first pull. This is more of like a wide row, something like this. As I'm here and I pull beside my face, this is where the actual strong external rotation is happening. Now this first part is still nice because the teres minor and the infraspinatus both help with the horizontal abduction extension of the shoulder, so they can help here a bit as well, but the primary face pull is happening here. In a very shortened position, depending how I pull my elbows, how I move my arm, my wrist, it's usually a weird position. It's a very short range position because I have maximum tension in my end range external rotation. Now, if I pull very much to my chin height above my shoulders, I have the same low leverage of resistance that I'm fighting with my external rotators. If I pull a bit wider and higher, I have this longer leverage from my regular external rotations. So one of the magic of the face pull is the more I pull inwards, the easier the movement is, and it's a combination of my posterior deltoids in horizontal abduction, external rotation, and even something that is a bit like a bicep curl. Like what's happening here is a bit like a bicep curl as well, although it's a fairly minimal contribution, but still the elbow flexors are working. So we could technically progress the face pull with the same weight by pulling more outwards, which has two effects. A, for my rotator cuff, which does this movement around this axis, like the axis of my forearm. If my arm is extended, I draw a way bigger circle than if my arm is bent. So extended arms, stronger, longer leverage on my rotator cuff, specifically the distance between my upper arm and my bicep is my leverage. Here it's a very low leverage of resistance. Here it's a very high leverage of resistance. Second aspect, horizontal abduction, which is this movement that also happens with bent arms here. It's happening in the shoulder joint. Cool magical thing going on here is as I pull here, my shoulder horizontal abductors, which kind of like keep my arms back, otherwise they would like kind of like fall forward like this, which is my posterior shoulder, as I said before, like in a power raise or bend pull apart. If my arm is here, they are much closer. It's like I'm trying to do a wide row versus a reverse butterfly. So with the wider one, I have more leverage that I have to work against, so I have more resistance. It makes it harder, both on my external rotators through this length here and on my horizontal abductors on this length here. If I would do a face pull like this, it would be still external rotation but less strong and more like a reverse fly. In the extreme example, straight arms, the reverse fly. Completely bent arms without the arms upwards pulled, it's just a wide row. So technically there's a continuum between reverse butterfly, wide row, low face pull, higher face pull. If I pull even higher than my head height, like here, what is this? Where does this end? Oh, it's nearly like a trap through raise until if I pull all the way overhead, this would be like a bend arm kind of row-like trap through raise. So even some trap through raise contributions are going on there. I hope this is helpful, bit longer one. For any questions, feel free to reach out.